Father, we just thank you. We thank you for waking up this morning to brand new mercies. We just thank you for this fellowship. We thank you for this sisterhood. Father, we ask that as our hearts are open, that you would just fill us up. Father, allow us to be able to take in what you would want for us to take in. We thank you for our spiritual mother. We just ask that you would just continue to bless her and give her whatever she stands in need of. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Okay, so are we recorded yet, Jay? All right, we're all live. Well, I want to thank my two co-hosts for coming and joining, and a special thanks to Bonnie. Total sacrifice here, right? She she planned all day yesterday so she could be here at this morning. She had to start her planning yesterday. La la, we got to get up so and lay everything out, kind of like jump in like they firemen, jump into your clothes and hit the door. So we appreciate her sacrifice coming out this morning. Nicole is sitting here looking beautiful. She says, "Look, she doesn't. I think her hair is swelling up as we speak." So we got a lot going on up here
If
today.
anybody has a hair bow, please have it on standby. Okay, thanks. By 11 o'clock.
Oh Lord, yeah. Enjoy it. I think 11 o'clock at the
Ponytail
praise and
and
worship.
bun.
You're gonna see a ponytail. But I wanted to say that I'm thankful that we all had this opportunity last week and this week to speak about our topic and the importance of fathers in the lives of their daughters. We kind of talked about a little bit like children period last week, a little bit in that, but we specifically are talking about the significance of fathers' relationship with their daughters and how it affects us in both negative and positive ways, and what we develop into when those relationships are not in place the way they need to be. What it can have, the toll it can have on our lives, not just as young women, but you can get to be my age, a 63-year-old woman, and I still have things in my heart, things that affect me that my father, unbeknownst to him, because I'm going to give him that because I think he had a great love for us. But when you don't know how to love correctly, you still can harm and injure people. And so I think his lack of knowledge and his ignorance, I'm going to say ignorance, meaning that he didn't know any better, uh, still has an effect on his children and a great deal on his daughters. So we're going to last week last time we were here, we tried to get through some of the video to have some content to talk about. But after we got like I think 6 minutes and 43 seconds in, that's all we did. And we're going to try to do a little bit more today, but we're going to just I don't want to rush when things get open. So I want to be able to discuss it, and if we don't get that far, it's okay because I think the most important thing is that we get to have the conversation. Yeah. So you want to say?
No, I was just saying the important thing is the discussion and just allowing you to see things from another perspective. Another thing too, I was thinking about after the video, you had said something in it, and I wanted just to kind of reiterate it this week. We as children, we automatically have love for our fathers, like automatically. As an adult, though, in my mind, I can see certain things that my dad missed, right? Besides the obvious, but it still doesn't change my love for my dad. I didn't learn that until later on in life, you know. So I wanted just to remind all of us that we are going to always have love for our father because they're our father. We're girls. We want our fathers in our lives. We want that daddy daughter. That's just kind of like normal. But don't, it's almost like it reminds me of what my mom says, like you can love them but know what you're loving. That applies even to our fathers. I love my father. He's no longer here, but I also know that my father was abusive. I also understand that my dad gave the best of what he could. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know better in some instances. In some instances, he did, but in and of himself, this is out of 100%, he only can give us 2%. It was the best 2% he can give. So, but that doesn't change the fact that that I love my dad. So,
I think Meat and I had a little backdoor conversation, kind of spilled over even into the other day. We were talking on the phone, and we were talking about that. That love sometimes can blind us as to what type of father they actually were. And so we can say, like she was talking, she had a good father, but he was on drugs and abused her mother, and she watched that and she saw that, right? Her love for him, we were discussing her love for him kind of blinds that fact that he was abusive and that he not only abused drugs but he abused his family. So that coincides with what you were saying, that we we're not here to change your love for your father, but it may answer some of the questions that you have as to why maybe the choices you made in life, it could very well be because of what your father demonstrated in front of you, even though you loved him. So, and I'm good at that statement. You can love whoever you want to love. Just know what you're loving. Like if the person, that they can be a low down, low down. I'm not saying don't love them. I'm just saying know that what you love and is low down. This don't pretend with what you love. Know what you love. See it for what it is. It don't have to change your love for them, but don't pretend. Don't let the love pretend there's something else. Don't let the love that you have for someone fool your mind to thinking they was something that they wasn't, or giving them more props than they actually had. Like I think Bonnie was talking about her dad, and how he wasn't there and hadn't been there and ain't there still. And and so I'm not sure what her feeling is toward him, but at the end of the day, you can expound. What is your feeling for your father?
Um, that came out bad. Um, I I love my dad because he's a person, if that makes sense, and that's about it. It is no. I didn't have like a desire like you was talking about that daughter thing. I didn't see that, so because I didn't see it, I didn't really know that it exists. All of the women in my family didn't have, like, my grandfather wasn't there. He was deceased, but I didn't really see healthy women and men relationship, if that made sense. It was always the women in my family handling business. And so, and let me just put this out here. My mom did a wonderful job of making sure I knew how terrible my dad was.
She did.
She did a wonderful job at making sure I knew how terrible I was. But, in a sense, I think that didn't give me some sort of false reality. Not saying that's the best thing to do with your children,
It's not.
but it didn't give me a sense of false reality. She would tell me, like, he's not gonna come, he's not gonna do that. Although he was saying what he was going to do, she said it straight. And so I didn't build I knew who he was from my mom perspective at a very young age. And because I knew who he was based off of what she told me and shared with me, then I knew that he wasn't going to be present. And so that didn't it I think her approach was maybe to try to cut off the harm that she knew that would possibly come. So I didn't have those desires of having a dad, having those moments, that sort of thing. I just leaned into that's just what my reality is, and we went on about it. But I love my dad as a person. He could call me, now depending on what he needed, he may get, but just depend. and and that only varies because my dad got some issues. So I can't cater to his issues, but depending on what he needed, I would still be there for him. But I don't have a sense of like, oh, this is my dad. Now this is gonna be very horrible, but we in a place where we talking. When my mom passed, I was so upset and hurt, and I was like, why couldn't have been my dad? Because she was the only parent that I had. Why not take the one that's not a parent and let me keep? Because most people, if they lose a parent, they still got one. So when I lost my mama, I have none. I lost all parents because although my dad is still physically present, he's not a parent. He has never been a parent. And even in our relationship today, I'm the parent. I'm the more mature one. I'm the adult. I'm advising him. I'm telling him like that. You need to get yourself together. You need to. That's the type of relationship that we have. So I still love him. If I need to be there for him, I would. But it's a love like I have to a general population. It's not an extended thing for him, and but it doesn't change that he helped me be present and birth me and all those things. But he just doesn't get that extra extended love.
That makes good sense. Anybody can relate to that. Yeah, we all have our own stories, so to speak, pertaining to our fathers. Um, and I think that this series or this time that we're sharing here in Girls Chat, these videos here will spark some sense of connection and may even open up your eyes. And for me, I'm gonna tell you what it did for me, baby girl. It that's not baby girl, that's baby girl. That pumpkin. See, I can't keep up with Dad's nickname for them. That Bunny and Nicole. Okay, so but I think what these ladies sharing did was because they're Christian women, is that it opened up their eyes to their fathers, but it also gave them insight behind even their tragedies, their things that was going on in them. And for me, it just sparked for me even more compassion for my father because he was a broken man. He was a broken man, and although he loved his children, because he was broken and at the time not seeking to get help, he was breaking us. And that sounds like a lot what could been here, is that a broken man that's not seeking to get better simply just will create more harm. And I think that that's what I did, just create a place of compassion within me, even for her father. I had great compassion for him by the time he had passed on, way in before he had passed on. Really, I had great compassion for him for the fact that the things that he had gone through, and so I had no malice for that man or anything. Just as a matter of fact, prayer. We prayed. We took time and prayed on his behalf, sought the Lord for him in his times or whatever difficulties he was having. So this thing right here, I hope it does that for you as well. Does it set up in you a place of um, anger, but a place of understanding that broken men can really break women, break their daughters, and because we're looking to them, and they.
And I think you said last week, just to reiterate or remind you guys, when we watch this, is really look at yourself because every if you have a good parent, even the good parents make mistakes. I know to this day I feel like I'm a good mom, but I've made mistakes that I'm aware of now, and I know that I will probably still continue to make mistakes, although I would strive to do my best. But in those mistakes and errors that our parents make, they still have some sort of adverse reaction towards us. So just kind of watch it and look in the mirror to see maybe some of the decisions you made or maybe how you respond to certain things. Um, those things may be from the mistakes of your parents or your father, regardless of if he was present, if he was a good dad, that sort of thing. So let's just kind of really look within ourselves to see if we could be able to identify some things.
And let's see if we can get a mic switch up here for her. I don't know what that is. Seems to be a lot of static. But we're gonna, if we can start our video, and let's try to pick up, ladies. Let's try to get 2 minutes in. Can we get two?
Truly thinking
Okay.
that God in
Okay.
heaven
I think
is
she said
humble
gotta hold your
but
mic
aloof,
different.
uncaring, too
Okay.
great to consider me. And so many Christians are functional orphans. They believe that while God might be a kind father for all these other Christians elsewhere, is not a father for them.
Many times, women who've been wounded by a father project all of that pain onto the face of God. She won't trust him. She sees God as the bad guy who eventually is going to leave you or hurt you.
Growing up, I didn't have a dad. And I don't think that I knew that there was anything wrong with that. That was just my reality. That's my norm. My mom had 5 kids with 5 different men in 6 years. She had a drinking problem, has a drinking problem still. Her not having a dad makes her crave male attention more than anything. We were put in foster care when I was 5. We were there for 4 years. And then my grandmother took us out of foster care. I grew up her being my mom. But she was physically and verbally abusive. My brother got in trouble a lot for using foul language. I got tired of seeing him be punished for it, so I would ask her to punish me instead. And so I just was like, just let me do it. Hit me. Don't hit Malachi, hit me. It wasn't about me being a good sister. It was about we need somebody and we don't have anybody. So I'll be that person. We grew up in church. We were at church every Wednesday night, Sunday morning, and Sunday night. But church was a feeling in the 4 walls, and Jesus is a feeling that lives at church, because as soon as we step out of those doors, we are getting hit in the parking lot. It felt evil. So as I got older, I had an adverse reaction to Christianity. I thought Christians are evil. Keep Jesus away from me. Jesus felt like a swear word. Growing up with grandma, I just felt really alone. It felt like I was nothing. But at school, I was everything. Honor roll student, in drama, lead role, cheerleading team, tennis team, varsity. Like, I was all of that. And I was also suicidal, depressed, lonely the whole time. I hated myself. I was cutting myself. I was starving myself. The mental state that I was in was I don't deserve to eat, and I deserve pain. I put myself in the psych ward. I told my mom, I was like, hey, I haven't eaten in 2 weeks and I need to be seen because I've also tried to kill myself 3 times. I didn't realize that in the background, the absence of a father presence was doing just as much damage. I watched my friends all, like, their dad showed up to all of our tennis matches, all of our basketball games, all of our cheerleading competitions. And I remember thinking how cool it must have been that they get to spend so much time with their dad. Everyone's dads were like silly and fun, and they made life like enjoyable. My mom made sure that I had nothing to do with my dad until my grandmother was like, okay, you should spend time with your dad. And so I met him when I was 11. And I just remember it being really awkward. He had a whole family, he had a wife and two other kids. He was just really absent. I don't think he knew how to show up for me. He didn't know me. My dad never told me that I was pretty. My dad never told me that I was special or important. But he really drove it in that I could not depend on anyone for anything. And I needed to make sure that I get an education, become self sufficient, never rely on anybody. And that was really all I got from him. So I was going to college and I needed him to co sign for an apartment. He said he would and then decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So I realized that I never wanted to talk to him ever again. And then now, in hindsight, coincidentally, in that same year is when I started dancing. I went to the strip club and made $900 in 2 hours and was like, oh, this is who I am now. Suddenly, I don't have a worry in the world.
For women, 80% of what they believe about them.
Yeah, I was gonna say when she first talked about not having a dad, she didn't know of that, so that was her norm. I could relate to that because that was just my norm. And self-consciously, like she stated, there are still effects of that, but because you never experienced it, you don't think that's where some of your behaviors and actions and things come from, because you're like, well, I never had a dad, that doesn't affect me because they weren't there. But that's just going against the whole dynamics of a family. A family is supposed to have the dad, and the dad is actually the grounding in the root of the family. So when you don't have that, that creates instability. It creates a lot of things that you don't realize that you have. And kind of like how she was, like when her dad didn't do something when she was done. See, it was like, when I never had you anyway. So if you're not gonna be there, then why even try to? I can do this on my own. And I've been a very, very independent person, where I can do things on my own. My mom was like that too. I can see getting some of that from my mom, but it's eye opener that that may be probably the bigger cause, because I have a sister. We got the same daddy, same mama, and my sister's nowhere near independent, and I love her, but I think I always felt like I was just independent because I saw a strong, independent woman lead my family. But now, going back and looking at it, no, I probably was independent because of the letdowns. And it was like, no, I can do this on my own. I don't have to worry about somebody else. So I can control this. I don't have to worry about somebody hurting my feelings or whatever the case is. If I do it, then I'm good. So I can relate to her a lot when it comes to not having her father.
And can we even be more like Bonnie being my bonus baby? I thank God for every day. Uh, but this was a barrier that had to be broken down even with us, because she had these letdowns. And just hearing her stories and stuff like that, it just gave, because at first it was like a little rough, but once you understand a person's story, you understand why. Who's gonna change my love? I love her. She's mine. Hear a person's story, it gives you insight to know how to help them, or how to approach them, or how to understand their movement. See, we understand. I understand her movement now. I understand her. If you got something, go to the mic. I understand her, and so we purposely move, or I purposely move, knowing that I don't want her to feel like she's let down.
Hmm.
Like I purposely do things, small things, because I don't want her to feel, even though it's not my intent, it's not what I'm doing, but because of her injuries, it could be taken that way.
Absolutely.
And so I have to sometimes go the extra mile that I don't have to go with Nicole, because my baby here has
Right.
a different kind of injury. Yeah. So you want to.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like listening to her story, it just goes back to, even it doesn't have to be romantic relationships. It can be how you move in sisterhood. Listening to this young lady's story, it just made me say, girl, you could, y- you was something. You were so judgmental about something you had no, just different instances, relationships, friendships, sisterhood with different women. Like my whole thing was that if you was a stripper, you just wanted a fast life. You just wanted some money. You just wanted to live that life. And I think that the the daughter daddy daughter relationship is the foundation for so many relationships. Now I can have compassion for my sister, like instead of saying, she just wanted to make fast money, she should have got da, 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 da. We just don't know. And I think you said it before, like even hearing some of the stories of women's stories or whatever, you just don't know. And so for me, it was just like a one of those checks that I talked about last week, like one of those heart checks. You don't know what somebody has been through. You don't know. And so it just opened my eyes to say, you know what the things that I've had from that daddy piece, that
Hmm.
that just quick to put my mouth on other women and just not knowing. So I had to repent.
This is and we've talked about this just as a ministry. This is why this takes me back to where Christ tells us to have love for one another, or love one another, because with that love, even though you don't know a story, like mom was saying about Bonnie, you don't know the whole ins and outs. You know it's something, you know it's for a reason. And because of that love, you have this compassion. And then eventually the Lord reveals it. Like, cause I'm gonna tell you, when Bonnie moved in with mom, and we were younger. We were in our early I was in the early 20s. But I just could not, yeah, we all had our individual, and I'm sure she can have a story about how she couldn't stand me either. It's cool. Um, but I think it was just me trying to understand. I remember, like, my mother taught us, if I have something, we all have it. So I would go get something. I'm talking about this petty store. I would go get I would go get body shower, like, body wash, and Bonnie would go and use my body wash, right? But the moment I run out of body wash, she all of a sudden will pull out this body wash pack, use it, and put it up. And I just could not understand. Now you don't use all my body wash. Now we didn't have the money, we wasn't making. We was all just trying to make it at the time. We were broke. We were trying to make it, but I learned down the road that this is how Bonnie was formed. So it took that I where I can't, I even tried to do the body wash thing, when use it and take. I don't have the memory to do that. She's gonna have to just. I used to just have to buy me some more body wash when she ran out, because I don't even have it. My mom just like, we all share. But what I said all that to say that having that love and compassion for each other. You may not always get a full understanding of why people do what they do, but that love and compassion supersedes it. At the end of the day, this is the woman that my brother loves. I love her, and that's it. And so we're gonna work this through. I'm gonna figure you out. I'm gonna get some, things in my mind of, okay, this is why. And as she tells stories throughout the 20 plus years, okay, in my mind, okay, I see. Okay, oh, that makes sense. Okay, this is why she didn't want to share the body wash. I got you. Like it was little things that just made sense. But because I did not, yeah, give you buy you cents for
You
Christmas.
gave me
I
some,
did. I bought you some. Um, and that was just my inward way of saying, at the end of the day, it's bigger than this. Like I love her, whatever it takes. I'm going back to that point. Whatever it takes for her to feel comfortable, like whatever it takes for her to feel like at the end of the day, I may not be your blood sister, but I'm your sister. You may have gotten to our family by way of my brother, but that is just as thick as I am with my brother. I am with you. So I was gonna say that about the compassion part. I also wanted to change the topic to when she made the statement that for her, this is what I related to, the statement that she made that for her, God, I made a note. God is not a father for broken daughters. I can relate to that at a moment in my life where I was so crushed, not necessarily from the father aspect, and then my first marriage aspect. I was so crushed by the male that literally spent me off to, well, y'all can have it. Y'all can have all of this. And because at the end of the day, w- my thoughts were, how can I be doing what God asked me to do and doing and singing and all of this, and then this happens? Like, what? This is like my dad. I tried to clean up like he tell me to do. I tried to do this like he told me to do, and I still got to deal with these kind of difficulties in life. So I had that moment, which is why, during that time, this is so a lot of you all who were there can understand why during that time in my life I spent off so hard, so wrong. Because at that moment, I'm like, this, I had enough. I had enough of being let down. And so if I'm gonna be let down by a male and in my thoughts, we are made in the image of him, I'm good. Um, so that I wanted to kind of uh touch on that as well.
Anybody else got something they want? Go ahead, sweetie.
Um, I resonated with a lot. And you never understand why you do what you do. Um, I met my dad at 13 because my dad was incarcerated. I did a lot. So when she mentioned just being active, I was all A student. I was in every club. I did whatever I could to not be home. Because at home at the time, I had a stepfather, but he was very verbally abusive. He was physically abusive to my mom, and they fought all the time. So it was always conflicting things that I heard from, it was like be the family, but behind closed doors, that family was broken. And so when I finally met my dad, one of the main things he said to me, he said, if it's not your way, the heck with it. So at 13, that was the mentality that I started taking on. So in my mind, I'm dictating life now. That's the way I navigate because my mom was very broken and it ended in a very bad divorce that like I was just in the middle of it. And so hearing her, I didn't strip, but I did other things that I probably shouldn't have done. Um, and then the independent side, the putting up the walls, knowing you have a father, but you just don't have access. And so, like Bunny, Bunny said, he never was there. Like my dad, I would talk to him, I would see him every now and then, but it was a lot of the broken promises. It was a lot of the broken promises that I heard from my stepfather. It was a lot of the broken promises that I heard from my biological father. It was seeing all of the men. So trust issues became really hard. So it was like, why be dependent on a man? Because my mom hasn't ever that I can think of ever spoke positively about a male. She didn't talk bad about my dad, but she would say, "Well, you'll find out. That's what you think, but you'll find out." Because I would take up for him, because he tried to have a bond despite what was going on, and he's never lived with me. So small things of a phone call or a visit, it meant a lot because he would try to do things, but not really realizing that what he was saying was tainting me and tainting my perception of men, and then tainting me of just who I was as a young lady. He would say I was beautiful, but then my stepdad would say, "Well, you're fat," or my stepdad's family would say you're fat. So I would go into starving myself, and I would be on unhealthy diets just so I can stay a certain size and maintain a certain image. And so it's just very pivotal because it's what do you do? Because even now at 41, um, my dad came, but it was still an absence, and it was tough. And I think Bunny asked me, and I'm like, it's not really what I was expecting. I'm grateful because I've been called ungrateful by him before. I'm grateful that he made the effort, but what I was looking for and hoping, it just wasn't there. So I think Meek told me, she said, don't depend so much on how Mo is treating your girls. You got to heal for yourself. And so that's why, like, mom and I, it was like how Bunny and mom were. It's still breaking down barriers. It's really learning to trust because I really haven't had anybody besides my grandma that I really trusted. But even in that, she was just strong and independent and she held things down. But I'm learning that that's not always the way that we need to be. And so this, like that young lady, it just really hit home because it was a lot that she said that I did and now I understand. Because sometimes Mo will say, "Well, babe, you work a lot, you put a lot into work." Well, because I was younger, that's what I had to do. I had to do what I felt I was good at to kind of deflect a lot of the pain and a lot of the things in the voids that I felt because I was filling those voids with things that weren't unhealthy, but I had to do things that I liked. And so that's where I'm trying to figure out how to mend those parts of there was a void or I'm overcompensating in the things that I'm good at. And learning how to be just a whole person, even though I was dealt a hand that really wasn't the best hand.
Well, you said a whole lot, baby girl, but you have spoken to probably over half of us, especially in the trust issue thing. Strong women in my family, that's that's a given, but it's because we always had to. But what I have learned in my process is, although I have to be strong or had to be strong in a lot of situations, uh, Father has taught me to, in my strength, give grace. Like in the time where I still have to stand, I can't look back at the men who I felt like should have been strong for me and batter them. So I can't find my strength in beating them. I have to stand on the strength of uh, giving God the glory for the strength that He's giving me, thanking Him for that, while understanding and giving grace and even giving, because I never talked my children off of their father, no matter how bad he was or how bad he performed or whatever. I did not hide his flaws, so to speak, but at the end of the day, he is what? He's your father. And so in his weaknesses and things I had to share with them so that they could understand and be merciful to him. Your father was incarcerated. I can only imagine what he went through being incarcerated, how he was developed, how he was formed, his inability to be vulnerable, much less to a woman, a little girl. So sometimes understanding another man's story gives us the strength to not um, to either grow or either to give the space for us to not be there. Like he didn't know no better, and if he did know better, he might not have been able to do any better. Sometimes men stay away because they don't have anything to give, if they don't have anything to contribute, and so instead of coming empty-handed, I don't come. That mindset. So sometimes it's extending yourself in understanding another person's place that will give you the strength to not be weak where you are. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that make sense to everybody? Sometimes it like when I hear my baby talk, like this is how relationship is supposed to be. Like I didn't understand even my own child, because of what she was going through, because of the things I didn't know she had gone through. So when I got knowledge, now okay, the ahas. See, it's where we get our strength from in the aha. You know, they say knowledge is power. It is, and the more you know, the more you have to kind of get up off of what they possibly and why they possibly are. That's why I think as women, we need to give each other a little more grace. We need to give each other a little bit more understanding because we don't even understand what the next woman has gone through or what she might be battling. We see outward movement or we'll say flowers. If you're looking at a plant, you see the bloom, but you don't know what's in the root of that thing. You don't know why is that blooming the way it is. You know, that's one ugly flower. Why? Why? Because the root of it was bad, and so it's coming up and coming out bad. But maybe, like somebody said that, I'm not sure. Not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you should be the question. Like, what happened that got her acting this way? When we see a promiscuous woman, don't say she just,
Yeah,
what,
you don't know.
what got her to feeling as though she needs to give herself to every man. You know why? You know if she doesn't know how to fix herself up, if she has body odor or something, what got her to to where she doesn't know how to take care of herself? Like look deeper than the outward thing, and maybe see each other as to the why, as opposed to putting our fingers and our mouths on them and condemning them from the gate, so to speak. This I hope is an eye opener for us as women of God to not be so quick. Understand, maybe hear another person's story. Sit down and listen to them, especially those that don't know how to be friends. You know, sometimes you gotta love people past that. You gotta, just keep on pulling them to you. Keep on just, sometimes you gotta just keep because you don't know why they're being scratchy,
Mm-hmm.
porcupine-ish. You don't know why they're porcupine. She don't know why. They don't know why they get on your nerve. We know we call Bonnie the brat child.
Right.
She's the bad baby.
She
She's the
is.
baby.
They not
Yeah,
called.
everybody know it.
She is.
She's the bad baby. We get it. We get it. But I understand this. Sometimes giving her or allowing her is strengthening her and teaching her to give. Now you've been given. Now give. Sometimes we have to demonstrate what we. Yes, sharing is caring. That's Leo. And so I'm growing. She doesn't even understand she's growing me. She grew me. But this the same thing. Maybe they need to see me, see mom. Hopefully they see mom. We do. Yeah, and then understand that if there's any misstepping with me, like knowing my story, do I get the grace? So I appreciate your share. And I would say even to your father's relationship, it is a strange relationship because you have not gotten time is necessary. I tell them all the time, we can't be family if we don't spend time. We have to put the time in. Every relationship that you want something good out of it, you got to put some time in it. And unfortunately, your dad hasn't had the opportunity for whatever reason, either his decision or not. Time is needed. And so every time you come to the table, just make sure you're putting in the effort. It don't have to be a whole lot, but you got to put something in. That's the only way you're going to get something out. And it's going to be weird in the beginning because you don't really know him. But like any other good friendship that you want, you got to put some time in. And then we got to give grace. Like understand his plight, understand why he might be standoffish, shamefaced. He knows as a man that he hasn't done for you. He knows as a man that he hasn't been there for you. He knows as a man that he should have been in place. He knows. And coming with that, still with the shame face to put for, I want you to look at that as strength.
Yeah.
And not as anything else. Just look at it as effort because he could have still stayed on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I got something too. There was when my dad passed away. We went. This for Tiffany. When my dad passed away, we went to his house to clean up his house, and he had this bracelet on his living room table, and it had all of the grandkids' names on it except for Wayne at the time. Um, for me, that was kind of like he was trying. When I made mention of that to some family members, I found out that we went in his closet. He had no clothes. He had nothing. When I went to go visit him before at the VA nursing home, the VA rehab, he was in the process of getting his vehicle handicap accessible so he could drive. No knowledge of why. I found out after he passed that he was literally he had told my uncle and my aunt that he was on his way to see his kids and grandkids. And I saw the bracelet, and I think, did you come with me or did I
I
tell you
did.
about
I
it?
was there.
Yeah.
It was kind of. Can I say this one
Mhm.
piece? That bracelet would only benefit one person, and that was me.
Mom.
It was a female's bracelet
Mhm.
with all the grandkids' name on it. Now, Wayne wasn't on it because I think he wasn't born at the time. He was
Just
just,
born.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't a man's bracelet.
Mm-mm.
It was a female's
Very
bracelet,
dainty.
and very, yeah. And I thought about it because knowing him, the little I mean, I was married to the man for 17 years.
Mm.
It In my mind, I said this is some of the stuff he would do. I'm gonna have this bracelet for this woman with all the grandkids' names. I mean, my mom wears it, but but that's kind of the stuff that that's why I was merciful,
Mhm.
because I know there was things that he had gone through, but there was a part of him that wasn't bad.
Right.
There was a part of him that was good, and there was a part of him that he was family oriented and down to small details or stuff like that. So
For me, yeah, for me it just kind of illuminated, Tiffany, the extending of the grace, because essentially, just like we as parents and me becoming a parent, I even said this at his funeral, like becoming a parent, we don't get a book or a manual on how to do it. And so it was just those little things that just extended the grace even more and more and more for him, because to know that at close to his final hours that he was trying to make his way to his kids, and knowing my dad, if anybody knows him, he's a person of surprise. Like, I could see in his mind how he wanted to do it. He wanted to show up in Columbus with his children and say, "Hey, I'm here. Y'all meet me." Like, I could see, and just his body just wouldn't allow him to get well enough to do it. What I want to make sure, because I work in healthcare and life is just not promised like that. We have to get in the practice of extending that grace and accepting. I don't want to say accepting anything, but accept even if it's a 2%. If because I'm gonna tell you what I saw when I saw the video when your daddy came. I saw little Tiffany happy to see her daddy. That's what literally, when I saw it, I shed a tear. I said, "Oh, there go little Tiffany. She see her daddy." Like, that's what I saw. My daddy here. And so embrace those moments. Coming from a person who don't have their biological, embrace those moments, because what you don't want is on the other side of it, he's no longer here and you no longer have any moment, not even the 2%. I mean, I would do anything to get the 2 to 5% from him, because that's a part of me. He's a part of me. Um, and so I just wanted to kind of give you that.
And just to add on what they both said, to kind of help that is take the expectation off. Don't have an expectation. It's kind of like what I said with my dad, and going to your saying, know what you're loving. See, I don't expect anything from my father. I know that he's enabled to give me anything, but having the time and the presence of just being with him, just enjoy that. But if you take the expectation off of it, then you may be able to enjoy it more, because you're not expecting anything from him. Just having his presence, being there, enjoying one another, just that basic, because you won't get those times back. So a lot of times we still have the expectation for our parent. Just remove the expectation and just love them.
because you can't recreate 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 year old, 10, 12, 22, 23. You can't recreate that. All you have now is at your age now and forward. That's all you have. That's with any of us. If you have your father in your life, you can't go back and recreate moments. You all you have is what you have now. I don't know how many of us have still have our fathers. Let me see. Hands up, still have your father. Yeah, blessed. Um, and I'll venture here because we have this sometimes. If your father was your abuser, um, that's a tough one. That's one that you have to forgive and move on, so to speak. Allow them the grace of forgiveness. If your father was your abuser, because this happens. Sometimes it's the father. He's the one that's inflicting the most pain and the most harm. But at the end of the day, um, God is able. See, I'm not able. See, sometimes the ability is not here. But with the power of the Holy Spirit, see, that's where it takes a whole new thing. That's why we have to ask the Holy Spirit to help us to every time they see they got to talk about your size. Oh, you show is. Yeah, you show is too. You just I mean some people you just can't be like if I ain't seen you in 10 years, you mean really the first thing we got to talk about is sizes? I haven't seen you in 10 years. But some people don't know how to interact with people on a humane level. They just have to be critical in everything. And so with that, through the grace of God, through the power of the Holy Spirit, even them, we can do it. We can overcome and we can forgive and move on. How many got family members like that? Yeah. God bless you. That's it. Just love them. Look, love them in spite of. Love them in spite of. And I'll say this, and I'm not going to bite my tongue on it. Some people we have to love from afar. Some folk you have to love from afar because until a person wants to be changed, you're just going to open yourself for more and more harm. You may not be the one God's going to use to turn them around, even though they're your family member. You may not be the one. And so sometimes you have to just love them from afar. Okay? And if y'all want to, anybody want to come on that, you can. Come on, Sharon. Oh, Sharon, this is good.
Yeah, y'all don't really see me. I stay in the back. For me, um, my father passed when I was 7. I am the youngest of 5. So pretty much I didn't get a chance to get a life with my dad. Um, I do remember a little bit, but not a lot. So I have my brother and my sisters to kind of like tell me what it was like to have a dad. My mom stayed in church, Church of God of Christ. We always in church. Um, my pastor, um, he tried to be my father because he had nothing but girls. He had 5 girls. So he tried to be a father figure, but it still was an emptiness because I didn't have my dad like everybody else did. I watched a lot of people, like you said, how much fun they had with their dads and things in that area. And that's probably why I'm kind of like a little standoffish because I wanted it, but I couldn't get it. Um, the boyfriends that my mom had, which was not many, they weren't even worth trying to be a father figure to me. Um, I just wanted that one to call me that princess. Um, my brother, he was trying to do the father and the brother at the same time. But as being a child, looking at him like, you're just my brother. You can't be my dad. But he tried everything to kind of like teach me as a father would. Um, I got a little bit of what you were saying, Bonnie, of how stern, how I just want to do everything by myself, and that's how I am. I give Bernard a hard time, but he still deal with me, which is a miracle. Um, but I am one of those ones that if it's not done, I do it myself. I don't have no time because I have so many people say, I'm gonna do this for you and never show up. And when you keep on doing it too many times, I get numb to you and I don't want to deal with you. And that's how I am. I'm very, I'm trying to get to the point of being trusting others, but I want to see what you do first before I start trusting you. I think me and Prophets talked about this years ago, and um, it's still in the process. Um, it does something to me as seeing it and hearing people talk about their fathers. It's not um, that I'm judgmental, but I'm jealous because I want it. I'll be 52 this year, and I've never had a father figure that I can trust. Um, a lot of men that have come through in my time of life, uh, is always more than what it should be. So God's been really dealing with me. And now I had two boys. How figure that? You know, um, I always wanted Bernard to do more, and then find out how Bernard had to deal with his father. His father was military as well. He was abusive, and the things that I've heard of what he went through, it was kind of hard for him to be like a father to his children. And he has a daughter as well. He's doing everything that he can now for her, but she just wants to turn another way and do the things that her biological mom has done. And it's like it tortures him. So it's like, I don't have a father. He had a father, and we're trying to battle that. Um, so it's something, and I usually just sit back and I just listen. But it was just like a push, talk about it because you don't talk about it, and most of the time I don't say it. I just keep it to myself. And he said a lot of times you don't keep this to yourself because it's going to kill you if you harbor it in your heart all the time. So I understand a lot of things that a lot of women go through. I wonder why they do. And then it just comes to me, like you said, you just never know what they have gone through in life. And you have to stay strong. You can't just let a lot of things take a hold to you. And if you do, and you don't have anybody to talk to, because I really don't talk to nobody. I do have my five girls that I love. This is Mary, D, Miss Elaine, who else am I missing? And Alicia. We go out. We're July babies. So we go out. And it just makes me feel good because we have so many, five different ages, and the things that we go through in life, we talk about it. So it makes me feel good. So they're the main ones I actually do stick around with. But it's a start because most of the time I just go to church, work, back home. I don't go nowhere. So thank you, Prophetess, for bringing this up a little bit, and pray that I can do more.
I know that's why your relationship with Prophet is so special, and that it means everything to you. I know that. And look, that's why that day there, if y'all don't understand why when he called her Sharon, one day he called her Sharon. He normally calls her snowflake. That's his little nickname for her. And then one day he just said Sharon, and she got with Prophet behind the scenes and said, "Did I do something wrong? Am I in trouble?" And he was like, "No, no, not at all. Oh, cause you didn't call me Snowflake." So he understood that she needed that. This see, and so now it's no matter what in the public. I don't care where. Snowflake is her name. So and so sometimes we don't understand. It's the small things. Like to me, not that big of a deal. Not that probably, but to her, it is everything. And for that, this is where we have to extend the grace.
Absolutely.
And then as women of God, for me to feel some kind of way, why he call her snowflake? We have to be. Come on, can I say this out loud? Because this is real life. Sometimes we as women, we are just too touchy, not understanding what another person has need of. And so, look, snowflake, that's her.
That's her.
Don't nobody try to be snowflake too. Snowflake, that's the only one and only snowflake. Okay, amen.
And I'll say this too: God gives us what we need. Sometimes it's the little things, and He broke the mold. And just is just to brag on Dad, like He broke the mold with Dad, because I can remember at a young age thinking like how amazing of a father he was, and then from there, or he is, from there to now, and I see Pumpkin, Baby Girl, Sunshine, Snowflake. Kimmy got a nickname too. I can't think of
Apple, she's the
Apple.
apple of the eye.
Like we all have that, and I'm sure there's other ones, but he gives us, God gives us exactly what we need, even if it's from another male figure. But we all have that personal connection with him, and it's almost just enough to just make you feel, just from a person who needed that father loving and the warmth from a father, not the I had a father, but I didn't have that warm from a father, right? But God gives us just enough with through our man of God. And I'm just sitting back listening and saying, okay, well that's sunshine. Like, oh, okay, I get it. Snowflake. Okay, okay, I see you, Jesus. So that's just a moment I just had. Like He gives us exactly what we need. Sometimes it's just those little things. And so to you, Miss Sharon, just not having that trust, I get it. But in order to gain that trust, it takes that first step. It literally takes that first step of just being a walk of faith or a step of faith, and just trusting that at the end we're not relying on man to hold us if we fall, but God being there to hold us if it falls or falls short.
Also, this just real quick, and I'm gonna let Bonnie say, um, not having trust can be a cage, and so you want to break out. Can't trust everybody. Now I'm gonna tell you that you can't trust everybody, but you have to break out of the cage of having no trust. I'm big on let people prove themselves. We don't have to be friends first day. Let's build this relationship. I think that's where we get hurt the most is we try to be fast friends. It doesn't exist. Fast friends don't exist. Fast friendships are are aged. They come with time and input. And so I'm real big on that. If you want something good or great out of a relationship, you got to put some time in. You can't just expect it to be that. And so that trust or lack of trust, so I say, it's a cage. So you want to break out of it, and you can't break. You can't break free with everybody, but like you said, you've got a group that you feel comfortable with. That's the breaking out. That's the getting out of this mistrust. And those that allow you into their lives, please, please take tender care. Don't hurt and harm each other by dropping people who are trusting. I'm really big on apologies. If you do it, please make it right. Apologize and make sure you got relationships right because we know we miss it sometimes. But we can't just overstep and just keep it moving. No, go back and make things right with people that people have trusted you and you dropped them. Okay? All
I have a question. How many of us in here actually deal with trust issues or have dealt with it? And how many of us that raised our hand had a trust issue with our father, our actual father? Yeah. What I found is that one of the hardest obstacles that I had to overcome is being a believer is trusting God. That was a really, really big thing for me. But going through this process, realizing now that trust really started from my dad. I couldn't trust him. That created me not being able to trust other people and ultimately having a hard time trusting God because of the broken promises, the lack, the things that he did not do. It all stemmed from there. And so when we say, okay, yeah, it's not easy for me to trust people, just kind of go back and check and see where you stand with your trust with God. Because a lot of times those barriers will cause us to bump our heads, have issues, go through things that we may not have to, all because we didn't know how to let down the walls with God. We have protected ourselves against other people, but also against God. And so we have to navigate through trusting Him because one of the things, like, I'm not an easy person to give out trust. But what I have learned over the course of this is that if I can trust God, even if I end up giving my trust to someone and they end up abusing that trust, because I trust God, I know that I will still be taken care of in that process. So just kind of think about that. That was a big thing for me. Like, oh, correlate the two. It took me forever in the day to trust God because of everybody else or because of my father that I could not establish a solid foundation of trust with. It was a reflection of my trust with God.
Good morning, everybody. Is this on? Does it sound like it's on? Okay. I'll use my teacher voice. So my situation with my father is completely opposite of what I'm hearing, and but I'm struggling because the father that I knew, my mom and my dad, all they had together was me. They divorced when I was 4, but I never missed a beat with my dad. Like he was just, I mean, whatever my mom needed, and he had remarried. She called, he was there. I needed, he was there. Um, he would tell me, he would get frustrated with me because he would be like, babe, you got to snap out of this Alice in Wonderland world because I'm trusting. Like, and I have to tell myself sometimes, everybody ain't got the heart that you have. Everybody don't see things like how you see it. But because of how I was brought up, I it was almost like a bubble. And that was one reason why I joined the military because I realized you you gotta grow up. You gotta see some stuff because everything was just kind of good and pure and I was protected and you know it was just good. And but I knew like Lawanda, if you don't get out of Phoenix City, if you don't get from underneath your dad, like this is not gonna be good for you. And so that's why, because I wanted to grow up. What I'm struggling with, y'all, is my father was absolutely amazing for me. He was such a good father for me. I lost him when I was 31, 2008. And like I said, he remarried. And so I have siblings and I have three other sisters. And our stories are different, y'all. I can't even I can't even feel comfortable having the memories of my dad because my sisters didn't have that and they're angry. And it's caused a wedge in our relationship. I mean, I know they love me, but they're closer, the three of them, than they are with me. And I think it's just because they're angry with me because the picture that they have of dad, I don't have that picture. And I want to relate to them and my heart goes out, but he was not that dad to me. And I kind of know a little bit of what happened. He got under a really crazy Christian leadership, and the pastor that was over him wound up doing some time. And but the father that I had, I think him and my mom, he was 25 when he had me. I mean, he was such a good man, and that's what I know. But from what I'm hearing, something happened, and he was not that to my sisters. And one of my sisters specifically is going through. She is going through because of some things that happened. And I know she doesn't hate me for it, but I know that there's a wedge between us because I think she wants me to hate him, and I can't. I mean, she has gotten mad and has not wanted to come to my house because I have a picture of my dad. I don't have many. And I had one up one time when she came over, and I wasn't thinking. I mean, it was a picture of me and my stepbrother and him and my stepmom, and I had it up. I had found it, and I found out later on from the sister that's under me that that bothered her, and she didn't come back to my house for a long time. And I mean, I can't even celebrate my dad like, on his birthday. I'll be wanting to put things on Facebook and celebrate him because of the father he was to me. But I know that angers my sisters because he's like, but he wasn't that to us. And you know, I lost mom at 15. Dad was it for me. I mean, he took care of me. He protected me. He was a great father to me. That's all I know. But something happened and he was not that to them. And it has caused a wedge in me and my sister's relationship. And I can't even have the comfort of speaking about my dad. It's just like I got to suppress and bury how I feel about him for judgment. And that hurts. That really hurts. That really hurts. And it's something I have dealt with. He's been gone now for 18 years. And so I don't have mom or dad. Um but I just can't, I feel like I can't even just be comfortable in saying I had a great father because he was a great father to me. But something happened.
Can I ask a question? Is the stories that your sisters are telling true? That you believe them to be true?
I I I, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I do believe
I
that
think
they're
that
true.
what we have to also recognize about fathers is that they have flaws. And your relationship with him just wasn't one of them. That wasn't his flaw. But obviously, your sisters experienced his flaws. And all, it's just like a person, you know, and I'm not saying this about your father, but I'm saying you have people who have the ability to live two different lives. Yes, they're this way in this setting, they're this way in that setting, and then people experience them in different ways, different capacity. Because there's a lot of people at World Changes who did not know my ex husband's home, how he was with us at home. They thought that he was just really great guy. He's able to present, and being that you were not necessarily were your sisters raised up in the house with him.
Yes,
You weren't.
yes, correct.
You weren't raised up with him.
I had the last 3 years with him from 15 to 17, 18.
Correct.
Yeah, after mom died. But yeah, as
As
a
a teenager.
right, as a little girl, I was not raised up in the house, but saw
And so
him.
this is what I'm saying. Things do happen to people.
Yeah,
Or you never saw that side.
yeah,
He could have very well still been that person, but you just didn't see that. You didn't get that. You
mm-hmm.
didn't receive that. And sometimes that's all and for you that's all you could know. And then there's no knock for you on that. But I think what you need to do is don't try to carry the burden of your father. It's not your job to be his horn tutor. That's not your job. I mean, basically, you had a good relationship with your father and cherish it. However, the reality is know what you love. This is where you know what you love
Yeah,
because you believe your sisters. I loved him. I still love him. However, I am not blind to the fact that this happened to you.
correct.
And
Yeah,
so that's what it is. That you just have to know what you love because by you feeling like you can't celebrate him, no, it's not that you can't celebrate him. It's just that his story is not all true as to what he was. So you pull back. But it's your celebration if you want to celebrate him. Your sisters, I think you feel a sense of obligation to them because you believe their story. And so you're just being compassionate. And there's nothing wrong with being compassionate. I would veer to the side of compassion. Enjoy what you had with your father. The world, like if your dad stood there right now, I wouldn't know who he was. He's your father. Enjoy what you had with your father. The world don't have to hear the tooting of the horn. Just enjoy your father, that he was your father. But in the same breath, you as a sister, as a mother, as a woman of God, you also can reach to your sisters and understand them as well. So it's like a two-part play that you can play. You know what I mean? You don't have to feel this obligation of I have to toot the horn. I have to tell the world what a good father he was. You don't have to be his band wagon or his banner holder. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
sometimes that's what it is. We just want the world to know he was your father and enjoy that and then cherish that. And in the same breath, also understand that people are different sometimes with other people
mm-hmm.
and that we don't like to think about it. I don't like to think about my dad and some of the stuff I know. I don't like to think about it,
Yeah.
but it don't take it away.
It's like it's like a guilt
Mhm.
because I want to understand like we all were his daughters, like his biological daughters. How can he be like this to me and then do this? And they're angry.
And you know what? And we can feel it. I feel it through you that they're angry. And then if we can feel that for them as sisters, as and they're daughters of him. That's what this is all about. Is is having the compassion for other women what they didn't have with their fathers. And so that's the compassion. If they weren't your sisters and they were other women that you didn't know, how would you approach them?
Yeah.
How would you, you know, cater to them in this? That to me is the more relevant because dad, honestly, he's gone on. It's been decided. Now we still have a God to glorify and a charge to keep. And so with us, we go on to, okay, I want to gain them for the kingdom, my sisters. I want to gain them. And is the post worth the gain? Nah, I'd rather gain them than get the post out there.
You, you said something, Mom, because I do have compassion, but like sometimes, like Lawanda or the flesh, I, I I get angry because like I know y'all are mad at me because y'all want me to hate him, and so y'all are treating me different, and so then I get stout hearted. Well, you ain't really moving with me like that and talking to me, so not bump y'all, but well, I'm not gonna keep catering to you because I haven't done anything, you know. But what you said just resonated. What happened to them was real. They are validated in feeling how they feel, and I just need to be compassionate. I need to love my sisters, which I do, but just be compassionate because because I'm trying to guard my heart because it hurts. Because I know they're not saying it. My sisters are not mean, but I can tell it's a difference in their relationship and mine, and I know it's because Lawanda didn't go through what we went through. He was good to her, you know, and so I'm like, well,
It's the same. It would be the same if, let's say, there was a stranger in the neighborhood, and they were wanting to warn you about the stranger in the neighborhood. That's not good. They've experienced his not being good, and now you, who are not have experienced that, sometimes people want you to know this person wasn't good for you,
yeah,
and so sometimes they express it because they're really bouncing off of their experience. And so I think that that's what it is. And I told my mom one time, as well. I said because they're your children doesn't mean that they're good. Like don't say what your child won't do.
yeah,
You know, no, they would never do that because da, 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 da. No, just because they're your child. Charles Manson had a mama.
right,
Charles Manson had a mama, but he was treacherous when it came down to the lives of other people. So because I didn't experience Charles Manson, I can't validate him. I have to go with those who have experienced him. And so that's where the compassion comes in. I don't condemn Charles Manson, but I can't also dismiss his victims.
that's good.
I have to validate the victims and not and that thing that we said, not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the conversation that needs to be had. Because just because we love them doesn't mean that they weren't capable of something that wasn't good. And that's where I think we need to, if you believe their story, then you have to say that my dad did that. So he wasn't, like I think I was talking to somebody last time. They were saying my father was a good man, but they had these things that they were doing. It's like, well, you loved him, and so you covered that up, and not
hmm,
you don't want to see that part. And just because they were good to you, you didn't see that they were abusive in this area.
yeah,
And so was that
Like
you,
me.
yeah. And so that's the part we gotta say. We love somebody sometimes, like the love covers a multitude of sin. We can only see the good, like even in our children. No matter how bad little Johnny, little Sarah is, we just think they just the apple. Oh, we can look past the fact that we saw them over there just cutting the monkey a minute ago. And we make excuses for them, especially if they my grandkids. Just leave them alone. They just trying to work it through. They trying to figure this thing out. They just leave them alone. Bring them here. No, terrible. See them love.
Yeah.
But on somebody else's child, you can see, oh, that little bad thing there. Little Coco, bad as all get up. You see what I mean?
I do. Yes.
Have this conversation with your sisters. Allow them the grace of being able to express to you what they feel. And the compassion will come is I don't have to be my dad's uh, billboard or cheerleader in their story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hear their story and be compassionate to them in their story. And sometimes that just takes being, because we don't know why dad was formed the way he was to do these things, whatever that was. You know what I mean? And so the compassion can go back to dad as well as forward to them. And it doesn't take away who he was to you. And that way you don't lose your sisters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to add to that because I did, just from my own personal experience, I had a similar moment of like that with my older brother. None of you have met, but I have an older brother that's 8 years older than me. And I had to, make contact with him regarding our dad once he passed away. And so a little bit after that, um, because we just had some business we had to handle. But a little bit after that, he would make contact and we would talk about dad. Now, even from some of the stuff that you guys have heard about my dad, my older brother has a totally different story. Like the some of the things that you all have heard or that me and my brother have expressed to my older brother, we had a wonderful dad, even to him. In the things that we have talked about, to him, he didn't even have that. And so for him, he wanted just that. And I remember sitting on the steps of my apartment listening to him and him talking to me. And I initially wanted to be like, look, bro, you really, like, look, let me, like, son, sir, let me tell you. But in the moment, I just had to allow him the opportunity to, get off of his chest the things that he wanted from dad. For him, even the fact that daddy had times where he was abusive, the fact he's like, but Nikki, you had him. I didn't have him. Like he said, you, because he still called Junior Junebug. He said, you and Junebug had him. I didn't even have him. And so, although, and I'm like, okay, and later on, I was like, look, we had him, but you know, I was just saying that to you to say, just having that ear and just allowing them to feel like you're a safe place for them just to express and nothing else but just empathy for what they had to go through. I had empathy for my brother for the fact of not having a dad in his home at all because my brother dealt with being in and out of jail, in and out of jail. That's how I found him because of his arrest record. He was aggravated assault and drunken in public, just a lot of anger issues, right? So I allowed him an opportunity just speak to how he felt. Some of the conversations that him and our dad had towards the end, right? Not too long before he had passed away, but not really interjecting, just allowing him that moment and like, brother, I'm sorry, I'm sorry you had to experience that. Dad had his way of compartmentalizing things. So, but on the flip side of it, this is what we experienced. And so we were able to have that moment once he was able to get off his chest all the things without me being like, bruh, like chill. I'm just saying for you, just have that opportunity with your sisters, allow them to express, like without saying, like mom was saying, like, I really don't know what you're talking about because I didn't have that. Just expressing from the sister side and not campaigning from the daughter side.
I think sometimes when we're in that place of healing, when else is healing, it's like a good nurse. You know, you might get splattered. Y'all, if y'all get sick, don't call me. I'm telling you now. Just body fluids. Now that's the one. Call her. Now, that's two of us sick now. Now we're both throwing up. It's not good. Not good. So if you want to get cleaned up, don't call me. I'm gonna tell you now, because we're both gonna be sick. But in the middle of their being sick, you're a caregiver. Can we be a caregiver? That's a good thing right there. Is that possible? Yeah. Can we do that? We how much time did we do? 13 minutes and 6 seconds. So I'm gonna share it now. I'm gonna share the video so that you all can complete it. And then if any of you want to have some conversation, I'll make some time. Maybe we'll have a little gathering or something, and we'll just kind of have some conversation. Or if you want to have some direct one-on-one, we can do that as well. Some direct one-on-one. Yes, ma'am. Yes, she was. Yes, yes. Go ahead and play that.
Themselves comes from the messages that their father is giving them. Women need to have that connection with their dad, an emotional connection to feel valued, to have a sense of agency about who they are, to feel cared for, and to feel loved. And if our dad is there physically, but not emotionally, we're going to have trouble believing in who we are. We don't feel cared for, we don't feel valued. And in that, we'll transfer that over to God and feel like He doesn't care about us either. And so then the message is, I'm unworthy and I'm not lovable. And I'll carry that into my life.
Okay. Just like that. Think about fathers as seed givers. If you think about fathers, fathers carry the seed. So just think about it just in the natural as a seed giver. We need from them we need from them to grow. We need from them to have what we need to blossom. And if that's not in place, we go looking for it.
Yeah. So we're not going to watch the rest of this, right? Okay. So when y'all watch it on your own, there is one particular lady is a black girl in there. I can't remember her name. Um, but she stood out to me. She actually uncovered something for me because sometimes the lack of father or the lack of relationship with your father shows up in your relationship with your spouse if you're married. And she said that basically, whenever her and her husband got into like a disagreement or, a moment, she immediately reverted to, you don't love me. And I was like, because that's what I do with JR. If we get into something, it could be very small, but if there's a moment of hurt, it goes to the extreme of that he doesn't love me. And he would tell me often in our relationship, and probably still to this day, because I just told him, I said, "Oh, babe, I found out what the reason was. I'm sorry, but that don't mean it's gonna change overnight." But he would tell me often, like, "You never remember the good things that I do. You always hold on to the bad things or the wrong things that I do, and the good things outweigh the bad things that I do. But in my eyes, once you do that bad thing, it nullifies all the good you've ever done." And so she was saying that because of the lack of her father, she didn't feel loved by her father. When her and her husband got into anything, she automatically went to, my husband doesn't love me. And so I would just say, watch it and then maybe correlate it to how you may interact with your spouse as well, how the issues that you may have with your father plays into your marriage or your relationship, because that was one thing when she said that I was like, oh, that's so me. It was, I mean, the exact same thing.
Hmm.
So uh just, yeah, when y'all watching that, just wanted to bring that out.
And she threw him away. She threw us away too.
Yeah, we always
We always
included.
a bundle deal. You and your mommy and your sister.
And your sister. We all get thrown away. I was gonna say this too. This reminds me. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a reel, and it talks about. It's like a little cartoon reel, and the wife calls the husband and says, "Well, do you love me? Because when you left, you didn't say anything. Can you close the door very
I sent
quietly?"
that to
Yeah.
JR.
So it comes from a place where a lot of us women, if we really go back and think in our minds, we struggle with that. Our fathers play a pivotal point in our lives of building that confidence and building from a pure place. Because my dad told me, he called me princess. He told me I was beautiful, even when told him what people said about my lips and my curly hair. Look at these lips. You got beautiful black lips. Like he never really looked at me and said you wasn't beautiful. He also taught me you don't need no man. You do what you got to do and you take care of yourself. So um and it wasn't always from a pure place, but those seeds, even to this day, like if someone, I give Randy a hard time too, because that's some of the first thing I say. Well, my daddy said I don't really need no anyway, so I can do this. I've been doing like, and it comes from an ugly place, but I mean, we're just being honest, because my daddy, and I think there was a few of us, our daddies told us, we this is how you can do this on your own. Learn how to take care of your own car. You shouldn't need a man to teach you how to take care of your car. Learn how to do an oil change. Learn how to pay attention to the sounds of a car and when something need to be done to it. That's what my daddy taught me. And I think it was talking through the fact of what kind of man he wasn't, but he wanted me to make sure I didn't encounter him, someone like him. But even at 41, I mean, I said that not that long ago. It don't matter, bro. I got this because my daddy told me that I don't need you to lift it. I can lift. I've been doing this, you know. And it's such an ugly thing, because on the flip side, now we're creating this thing within our husbands where now they don't feel like they're needed, which we know that they have to feel that. So it's just an ugly seed. There are good seeds and bad seeds. It's just an ugly seed. But once you notice it, like Bonnie, like you were saying, once we notice it, gotta do something about it. So I owe Mr. Randolph Young an apology. Go ahead.
I'm like that too. Now, when it comes down to
She
the
is.
car,
Now she wasn't always.
I'll just sit back with that little cup. How much is that part? Because I'm not that. I'm just gonna be like, fix it. Yes, I want
And
you
to
to
be
come to the.
honest, I picked that up from her. Um, as a married woman, like it's okay to be dainty. I'm not saying I do it right all the time. That's why I said I owe the man an apology, right? But it, in my mind, I think about the comfort level that she is to show her I need you. Where I thought that because my daddy told me differently, I thought that was weakness. And then I saw my mom, not saying that, when my mom with my dad, to me, looked like a weak woman. I didn't know the Sandy that y'all know until after my dad and her got divorced. But during their marriage, that I saw a weak woman because the strong woman wouldn't let this man do this. And so that's what formed me. So and that coupled with what my dad told me, like, oh no, we're not, I don't need you anyway. You should be glad to be invited. Was my thought. But because of Ametris, and I'm just being honest, I don't know any other way to tell you except for being 100%. But specifically with Ametris, I really picked up on I might can lift this mirror, but honey, can you? And I feel very terrible. I feel like, oh, with your strong hands, can you get this? But I learned that from Ametris. I learned that it's okay, and even mom seeing that it's okay to be that dainty woman and not to be that all the time. Because I can lift the mirror, I can do, but you know that's a part of helping grow your husband. Just let him do his role. Anybody got anything else before we close out? Because we are over our time. Yes, ma'am. And I will send out the link so that you all can watch because I just don't think we'll get through.
I'll try to keep it
So
short.
y'all can finish it. Yeah, give us two. Hey, the face. Give us the face. Say thank you.
Oh God, that makes me want to cry. But I'm trying to keep it short and sweet. Oh, but real quick, me and Sharon, we looked up that guy that you mentioned, Charles. His father was actually absent in his life too. I was like, okay, that makes sense. There was a guy, he was a serial killer or something like that. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. A lot of stuff happened in his life, but I I wanted to share really quick. It wasn't until I came here that um, for me, my dad growing up, he was my hero. And I thought about how sometimes as a kid,
Come on up here, look at you. Come on. You need a tissue box.
oh no, I'm no,
She's,
I'm gonna be
she's
okay.
ready. Okay.
For me growing up, my dad to me was a hero. And it wasn't until coming here that I began to see different things. I'll put the mic to my mouth. Um, and I was thinking that sometimes as a kid, we think that things are normal, that this is how it's supposed to be. But it's not until you get out of it, you're like, man, this is not how it's supposed to be. I remember my father having a lot of anger. And my mom told me one time that he scared me so bad that I began to stutter. So I dealt with stuttering a lot as a kid because I had so much fear and anxiety. And I remember one time my father he got so angry with me for leaving my undergarments in my pants that he yanked me up on the wall. And my mom and my dad, they were so broken. There was so much arguing and fighting and physical fighting. And it makes sense now why I reserved. And if somebody tells me something, I'm like, okay, I hear you, um, but yeah. So in all of that, I have understanding from my father because his father was absent. His father was his father was in jail most of his life, and then when he got out of prison, he died maybe months or so. And also with my dad being in the military, going to different wars and stuff, it gave me understanding of why he brought in so much anger into our home. Um, probably. Um, but yeah, I wanted to share because I was gonna sit back there and not say anything, but for me, I have understanding now, though I'm recognizing that I have to be honest with myself and understand where a lot of the rejection and the fear and anxiety came from and no longer use them as an excuse. But mom has helped me a lot. She's told me to like give people a little bit here, give them a little bit there, not just give them everything because that's what I was doing because I felt like I was overcompensating. I felt like if I, like, I don't know, but just wanted to share a little bit. Yeah.
I think that's a growth place for you as well, is it not? Is that not a growth place for you to recognize? Yes. Because at first you were in denial that you even had to have a yeah. Yeah, sis. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of the video. Uh, I'm gonna sit here and so I don't forget, and I'm just going to send it out really quick so that you all can get it, have it, and can watch it. And like I said, if anybody wants to talk about it, have some conversation about it, I'm very, very open to it. Okay. Anybody? Anybody needing anything? Everybody good? Everybody good? Wanda, you good? We'll talk. Yes. Everybody else good? Kimmy, cool? Good? Yeah. Okay. All right. Pat, Tammy, Mother Nobles, good? Tyra, Mother Myrtle, you good? D- Didi, Sharon, Tasha, I don't know how much you heard. You good? She Gucci. Gucci, she said. All right, then. All right, me, you good? D, 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 y'all good up here? All right. So, Father, we thank you for this time of sharing. We thank you for the words that have been spoken. We know that it doesn't fall on deaf ears. You hear everything. You're aware of us. You're aware of our condition because some of us are still living in our condition. So we thank you for opening the doors so that we can breathe and that we can have this time of sharing to release these things that we've been holding for so long. This is our place of healing and we accept it. We thank you for allowing the Holy Spirit to minister to us in our places. Continue to grow us, form us, and shape us. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, that we pray. Amen.